Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, I wanted to be talking about things that you should know before buying an SST car. So either the Evo X MR or Evo X equipped with the SST transmission, or the Mitsubishi Lancer Ralliart. So those will come, or can come, with the SST automatic twin clutch transmission, which obviously my car has, and my fiance's Ralliart obviously has. So I personally really like this transmission. So you have the TC SST there, and yeah, you have your two paddles, so you can drive it as a full automatic, which I do not recommend. So if you're looking at buying one of these, and like me before buying it, you heard nothing but horror stories about how expensive they can be to fix, how often they break. Let me just tell you now that I've had mine for over 5 years, and I've actually never had any transmission problems. Now, in saying that, my clutches are just starting to slip, but yeah, I've put a lot more power through the car than what it had from factory and what it had for the first sort of 10 years of its life. So mine's a 2008, but I think if you look after them, which is doing regular servicing to the SST, so the fluid change every sort of 15 to 30,000 kilometers, depending on your driving habits. I'd just do it once a year or every 15,000 to be safe. But yeah, so you do that and you warm it up before driving it hard. So I never drive my car like wide open throttle while the transmission's cold. You obviously don't want to do that to your engine either, but the transmission even more so. So you want to really let that warm up, which does take quite a while. So it can take about 30 minutes up to completely warm it to the optimal temperature to sort of go wide open throttle and not slip any clutches. So what I do is I just sort of just cruise around. You can still hit a bit of boost. I do anyway. Still, 3,500 RPM, still hitting a bit of boost, it's fine, and a bit higher as you're warming it up, but I just don't sort of hold it wide open throttle and smash through the gears with the paddles while it's still cold. Once it's warmed up, yeah, go for it. It's great and it's a lot of fun. So I'll go for a bit of a drive anyway, and I'll sort of discuss the things that you need to know or look at when buying one of these cars. Okay guys, so let's say you've just jumped in the Evo X or Ralliart you're looking to buy, and you want to go for a test drive. So yeah, the first thing you'll notice is obviously, yep, it's an auto. So when you turn the ignition on or just set up the car, so it'll be in normal mode. So obviously we're in park 2, but yeah, so normal mode. Then you'll have sport, and then if you hold it up once you put it into sport for a few seconds, it'll go into super sport or S sport. So it'll always start in normal. So one thing you definitely need to know is that while you can drive it in the normal mode, it's definitely not good for the clutches. So I always drive mine in super sport. When you first start to drive the car, it may feel a little bit like the shifts will feel a bit violent than what you're used to, but yeah, it's actually the best way to drive them. So yeah, every time you jump in the car, first thing you want to do is you want to put it into super sport, and you want to pull it down and that'll be your just drive. So you definitely want to always slide it across into the manual mode, or you can leave it like that, and as soon as you start using the paddles, it'll go into the manual mode. And then to turn that off, you just hold the paddle, the upshift one. So you see, hopefully you can see with the glare, it's in 1. So when it just has the number, not D1, that's obviously manual mode. Now it says D1 because I held the up paddle, and it's gone back to auto. Or you can just always slide it across. Alright guys, so the first thing when you go to test drive a car and you're actually driving it now, you as much as I just said you don't want to drive the car in normal mode, that is the way that you actually feel the most clutch slip. So the reason we don't drive it in normal mode is because you'll experience, if you do it every day, it's going to cause more clutch slip. But when you're test driving the car, you want to actually try and do a few, not launches, but sort of take off a few times in normal mode. So about 60 to 80% throttle in normal mode and try and take off. If you feel the car shudder at all, then you've got some sort of issue, whether it be clutch slip or something else wrong with the gearbox, which could be more expensive. So yeah, definitely drive it in normal mode when you're test driving it at the start anyway, and sort of do a few takeoffs. So mine actually has that issue. It doesn't really much shudder, but it definitely sort of hesitates. You sort of feel the clutches slowly disengaging, like you're really slowly letting off the clutch in a manual type feeling, like you're really being slow with the clutch on a hill. That's what my car's like. It's really noticeable on hills with my car as well, and it's kind of annoying. It's like people think you're driving a manual and think you're struggling with your clutch or something, but it's no, it's just how long it takes my clutches to disengage and for me to take off. So yeah, after you've done that, you've driven off, you feel either the slow takeoff with the clutch slip or anything, or shudder or anything like that, or you don't. You definitely want to do a few sort of mid-range shifts. So what I've found with my clutches starting to slip is that if I'm just sort of really lightly driving like I am now and revving to under 3,000 RPM, it is fine. And if I'm really driving it hard with wide open throttle and holding my foot flat while I shift, it's also fine. But it's that mid-range where you're just sort of having a bit of a play, you're hitting a bit of boost, you're not sort of going all out. That's when I kind of feel the clutches slip the most. It's that time, and it's when I'm sort of taking off. So mine does it also in normal, it's super sport mode, I should say, sorry. When I take off and I feel it sort of really slow to take off, that's in super sport mode for me. So yeah, these are things like I'm fine with my car doing that, because it's, I've had it for over 5 years. I've put more power through it. I'm expecting the clutches to need to be rebuilt, and yeah, mine's a 2008 model. It's 2020 now, so it's fairly old, and I'm expecting some sort of work needing to be done, which I'm prepared for. But yeah, you don't want to be buying one, especially buying a cheap one and thinking, oh, this is a good, cheap, fun car for me to get. Easy to make power out of. If you're buying a Ralliart, you can put all this sort of Evo turbo and intercooler and lots of different parts on it and make good power. But then you find out you buy it and you're up for $5,000 to $8,000 for a new gearbox or clutches, or depending the extent of how much is wrong with it, how much it'll cost. But yeah, it's not cheap. So you definitely want to test them out. So definitely sort of tip number 2, I guess I'd say, other than first trying to take off in the car in normal mode a few times, would be test drive a few. Hopefully you can find access to a few different SST equipped cars. You definitely want to feel the difference. So mine, I always thought was pretty good until my fiance bought her Ralliart hatch, and then feeling the takeoff in that, I just thought, oh, that's not what my car feels like anymore. Maybe it did 5 years ago, but hers just feels perfect. So yeah, I can tell the difference, that my gearbox is on its way out, or my clutches are, whereas hers are perfect. So definitely test drive a couple. Don't buy the first one you look at. Try and test drive a few, even if it's a bit of a hassle for you, it's worth doing. And I did forget to say, I've said in previous videos though, but the Ralliart actually doesn't come with the Super Sport mode. It's easily flashed on, so if you just take it to a performance shop that deals with these transmissions, you can get them to flash Super Sport mode on your car. So my partner's Ralliart has it, as all my friends with Ralliarts. If it doesn't, and you don't have a shop nearby that works on them, and you want to put it on there, there is ways you can do it yourself. You just have to download a program and buy a Tatrix open port flash tool, and you'll be able to do that yourself. I haven't done that personally, but yeah, it's there's a few sort of YouTube videos and internet guides on how to do it. So yeah, we'll get onto the highway. I'll see if I can show you some of the clutch slip that I get in the sort of mid torque areas, sort of, you know, over 3,500 RPM if I shift. So I'll get a bit of space in front of me. I'm in 6th gear at the moment. I'll drop it back into 5th. So yeah, it gave me a little bit of slip then. I'll try that again. Not driving as good as it used to. That's not too bad, but yeah, I do get it worse sometimes. It's probably more the lower gears. The car's a bit warmer at the moment though. When it's cold, it's more noticeable, sort of driving home at night on the highway or something. But yeah, so to go back through the main tips for it. One is test drive the Ralliart before you buy it, or the Evo. Don't just buy it, because it may have bad clutch slip. The previous owner might not even know. 2, make sure you're aware of the servicing requirements and schedule. If you're buying one that hasn't been serviced in a couple of years, budget sort of, I don't know, $500 to $700, $400 to $800 even, I'd say, depending on where you're taking it to get it serviced. The fluid itself isn't cheap, but the cheaper option is to buy the Castrol Transmax Dual fluid. In Australia, you can buy that from Spares Box for, I think it's 20 litres. Not sure of the price off the top of my head, but that's definitely what I'll be doing, because I'm going to start servicing my SST myself. But yeah, so you want to be aware of the servicing schedule. You want to test drive it in normal mode at first. And yeah, you want to definitely be prepared that it may cost you some money at some point. So if you're just scraping by to buy the car, you don't have the money to service it, it's probably not the car for you. On the other hand, if you find one, like a few of my friends have recently, that's just had a rebuilt gearbox, so a previous owner's stuffed the gearbox, paid big money to get it rebuilt, and just thought, I don't want to have this happen again, I'm just going to sell the car and sell it cheap, that's the car to buy. It's just had the work done, you just have to maintain it, and you'll get years and years of life out of it. It's been built by a reputable shop. Okay, so another thing I wanted to point out while I'm just waiting in traffic here, when I bought my car, I didn't really research just how costly it can be if something goes wrong. I didn't also know to sort of use the tips that I'm telling you in this video, such as to check for clutch slip. I just drove the car. Obviously it drove well, because yeah, hopefully I would have noticed otherwise, but I just drove the car, absolutely loved it. I was planning on buying a manual Evo 10 or a manual E46 M3 BMW at the time. Those are the two main cars I was looking for, and an Evo 9 was my third choice. But yeah, I test drove this car just because it sort of popped up and it was nearby, and the previous owner sort of worked near where I worked, so he said he could, you know, drop by when he finishes work and I could take it for a drive home. And yeah, so I thought, why not? Drove it and absolutely loved it. So after I bought it, or after I made an offer and was, you know, picking it up in a week or so, I started to do some more research on it, and realised how expensive it can be to fix, and reading all these horror stories, and it almost turned me off. And I mentioned that to the previous owner who I was buying the car from, and he sort of said, oh look, he hadn't owned the car long, but he said, I haven't had any problems, there's no issues, you know, test drive the car again to make sure you want it. So he came back and gave me another drive. I drove it again, realised no, I love it. I can't feel anything wrong with it, and I'm just going to avoid the horror stories, because if you also Google the other car I was looking at, the E46 M3 horror stories, there's just as many. You basically find any performance car and there'll be all these horror stories about things that can go wrong. And what you'll find is people that have owned the cars and have had bad experiences are the ones more likely to talk about how bad it is, whereas people who have owned them and haven't had any really bad experiences, they're not going to be as vocal. They're just enjoying the car. They're not finding they need to go out and spread all the bad issues they've had with the car and tell everyone about, don't buy it, this can happen, because that's what I'm in a few groups with Evo 10s and SST transmission groups, and yeah, you'll find there's a lot of people who've had bad experiences will tell you, but until someone starts really bashing it, that's when the owners who've had nothing but good experiences will sort of chime in and say that they haven't had a problem and that it's been great to them, and maybe, you know, look after the transmission better, or you had a bad experience, previous owner didn't look after it, you just got unlucky, but the car and the transmission itself can be pretty good. So when I bought mine and I did start looking, you know, I took it straight away to get the SST serviced. I found out from the place where I started going, which was AK Racing. So in Brisbane, they're kind of the Evo 10 and Ralliart specialists. They do the SST rebuilds, servicing, they tune, you know, fit turbos, anything you want, but they're definitely the SST sort of specialists in Queensland, Australia. So they were telling me about how expensive it is. And this was, you know, 5.5 years ago. To get the SST rebuilt back then, it was a lot more than it is now, I can tell you that. It was $10,000, $15,000. These are the sort of figures I was hearing, depending on what was wrong. Now I've just had a recent quote from them, once my clutches started slipping. And yeah, it's more like the 5,000 to 8,000. Yeah, I've had a friend who had his SST fully rebuilt with OEM clutches, just about new everything, and I think it was about 7,000 to 8,000. And his will go for another 10 plus years, whereas I'm hoping to just get away with mine with going upgraded clutches to a template clutch system, and whatever else it is that AK were recommending me while it's out, you may as well do maybe a shift fork as well, and it's more like the $5,000 to $6,000 range. So yeah, it's gone down a lot in price to get it fixed. Just service them, and hopefully you won't have to get it fixed for a long time. Yeah, I think that's about everything I wanted to discuss and let you guys know. So yeah, that's basically my thoughts and my tips. Also, thanks to Alan at AK Racing, as I asked him, you know, I asked him to sort of send him a message saying that, you know, making this video, this is kind of what I have written down that I'd like to talk about. Is there anything else I should say? And so he gave me a couple of extra tips. So yeah, massive thanks to him. If you are in Queensland and you're looking at buying one of these, definitely take it to those guys to have a pre-purchase inspection, as they'll inspect your SST and let you know if it is in need of a rebuild soon, or if it's looked after and it's fine. And you know, but yeah, definitely big thanks to the guys at AK Racing. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to bring up about the car today and let you guys know. So yeah, that'll be it. Thanks heaps for watching, guys. I would like to just add before I end the video, if you guys are enjoying the Evo 10 and the Ralliart content that I'm making, if I could just ask you just a little plug, just make sure you like the video that you're watching, and subscribe to the channel, as it would really help me grow. I'm really trying to grow the channel at the moment, trying to put out videos at least twice a week, 3 times a week if I can. So on my days off, I'm definitely trying to get a video out whenever I possibly can. So really would appreciate if you guys could like and comment on any videos you're watching and subscribe. It would be really appreciated and it would help the channel grow. Yeah, having said that, guys, that will be the end of the video for today. So yeah, thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you next time.